actually has some great health qualities. It's actually heart healthy for you.
A new study showing that drinking a glass of red wine is just as good as spending an hour at the gym.
So, a lot to discuss, and it's for Dr. Sanjay. So, I mean, I remember, I'm sure I said this last year, everyone was saying that. I believe that I started drinking a glass of red wine a day, and now I feel like an idiot for years. Well, I mean, so how do you buy this study? Or
I do buy the study, and I think I think the guidelines are important here, and I think they do reflect sort of what we've learned. But I will tell you, I mean, going back more than 100 years, there's been debates about whether or not there's some value from alcohol on your health. And there was these op-eds in the New York Times going back in the 1870s, Anderson, about this. So there's been this back and forth. But I think if you look back over the last 50 years or so, other than like in the early 90s with this thing called the French paradox, which may have been what convinced you to drink a glass of wine a night, most of the data has really pointed towards problems with alcohol, increased risk of breast cancer and stroke. That was in the 80s. 1992, again, that French paradox I just mentioned. But look, over the last 10 years, increased risk of cancer again. In 2018, a significant statement that came from the World Health Organization saying no amount of alcohol is good for your health. But I think what's really driving this concern in these new guidelines now about basically saying abstain completely has to do specifically with cardiac health and blood pressure even more specifically. If you have even moderately high blood pressure, the guidance is simply don't drink. It's too much of a risk.
I mean, alcohol has been such a big part of American culture for a long time, but we are seeing more people give it up.
Yeah, and I think it's because of these health messages. If you look at the demographics overall, younger people seem to be giving it up at a faster rate even than older people. So I think some of the concerns about health are really getting through. If you look at some of the data, I think going back over the last 10 years or so, you'll find that about 2001, 27% of people, they thought that alcohol was bad for health. 53% now. And I don't know if you saw some of the data that came out today that basically said 54% of people are drinking. So this is around half the people. I think, going back 20 years, when you ask adults, most people will say, yeah, I still drink occasionally. It's getting closer to just half a percentage.
There's also now changing how doctors should treat high blood pressure. We don't have a lot of time, but what are the guidelines for that?
I think that the first new guidelines since 2017, number one, and about half the country have hypertension. Just to give you that context, I think that's really important. But basically what they're saying is, it's a really high number, but 120 over 80, below that, that's normal. If you get to be over 130, that's the top number there. That's when they say for the first 3 to 6 months, lifestyle changes, really focus on that, healthy weight, reduce salt, exercise. But then, importantly, if no change after 3 to 6 months of lifestyle changes, possibly considering medication at that point, and again, abstaining from alcohol. It's a pretty firm recommendation at that point.
All right, that's so good. Thanks so much. Just ahead, he was considered by many of the American royalty, the public's fascination.